Welcome to Hat-Trick City on WXCI 91.7, Danbury's only all-hockey radio show.
I know that some in our audience don't know the finer points of hockey.
You want me to dummy you again?
Hat tricks, baby! Woo-hoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hat-Trick City. I'm your host, DJ Patty Cake, as always joined by the one and only DJ Uncle Matt here in the WXCI studios. We got a lot of hockey going on. We got the NHL playoffs. A few games just happened last night. The Leafs were able to stay alive in their series, being down 3-0 going into it. They were able to take down Florida 2-1 in regulation, making it a 3-1 series overall. So they'll head back to Toronto for Game 5 on Friday, as well as, oh my God, why am I blanking now?
Edmonton and Las Vegas.
There you go. Edmonton, Las Vegas.
We'll play at 10 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah. And
also in Game 5.
Yes. And Edmonton was able to win that game as well to tie up the series. Now it's tied 2-2. So that series can really go any way, based off of how those teams have both been playing. It's been kind of a back and forth series. So really, I feel like it's going to go all the way to 7. But with Toronto, that can end any second, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that we've seen, contrary to some of the comments that I've made on this show, there's nothing like the NHL playoffs. And, I was texting Billy McCreary last night just during the Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers game, just because, there were some big hits in that game. And, it's a time of the year when you're almost guaranteed entertaining hockey. Down 3-0. Toronto came back and took a game from the Panthers. And, again, it's just an entertaining time of the year. They're even on shots at 25 apiece in that game. It's a 2-1 game. The battle is there. And if you like passion and you like kind of the work rate and the intensity that goes into hockey, this is the season of this is the season of old time hockey and real hockey in the NHL. So it's great to see the Devils go further than they've been in a while, and it's great to see the Maple Leafs go further than they went in a while. I think the thing about it is when those fan bases get ignited, the NHL is really special. Nothing to knock, the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers have a great fan base now. I mean, I was at Florida Panthers games 10, 12 years ago, maybe a little more than that, where we're talking crickets, where, you could scream and talk to a person on the other side of the ice. And now it's just not the case. They're in the playoffs. They're competitive. I actually went to the very last meeting, I think, of one of the last meetings of the Florida Panthers and the Atlanta Thrashers, not the Trashers of Danbury, the Atlanta Thrashers. And then the very next season, I saw the Florida Panthers play the Winnipeg Jets. So all the same guys, just different uniforms. Yeah. For the Winnipeg Jets, former Atlanta Thrashers franchise, and there's some rumblings that Atlanta may get hockey again. It's a very low whisper right now, but sometimes low whispers like that come true. But then it's also really cool to see the Devils kind of get back to the playoffs and winning ways like they were. They're a great organization. I grew up mostly an Islander fan. I kind of cheered for the Devils at first when they were kind of in the Stanley Cup run early in the 90s. I just kind of learning about hockey. But I could tell you that that's a fan base. It's a fun state where people care about sports. And I actually think that if they can sustain this level of success, continued runs in the playoffs and even deeper, the Devils can really have that feeling again of like a Pittsburgh Penguins type of a close-knit, kind of in Pittsburgh, there's really no competition for winter sports outside of the NFL. There's no NBA. So kind of similar to similar as the New Jersey Devils. It's really New Jersey's only professional team that represents New Jersey. It's not a New York named football team, and it's not the Red Bulls, who also carry New York name, playing in New Jersey. So I just think that the idea, if the Devils can sustain this success over the next couple of years, you're going to see a strong fan base there. It's going to be a fun place to go to games again. So I'm looking forward to seeing this out. I think it's really fun to kind of be in the NHL playoffs and have the chance to kind of travel a little bit with the Hat Tricks players and coaches like Pat and I have over the last couple of weeks and months, really, because, up in Elmira and, on the road in Binghamton, we, and even in Carolina, those nighttime periods when the games are on and there's nothing going on for the Hat Tricks, everybody's either huddled around Billy McCreary's laptop or we find some place to watch it. The coaching staff, sometimes we find a restaurant or a sports bar to take in those games. So it's extra fun, really, to watch it with these hockey crazy guys and to watch Nosy and Billy get so worked up over the Maple Leafs and kind of watching them in sync, shaking their heads or, putting their hands over their eyes over what Toronto's doing. It's pretty entertaining. So thanks, Nosy and Billy, for all of that.
And, while we're on the topic of, these road trips we've been taking and such, we got to talk about this Carolina situation because we went down there. I myself had, Matt and I split. We had, 4 different barbecue experiences total.
I actually had 5.
You had 5. Okay, you went to an extra place. I didn't know about that. So I went to 3 places. He went to 5, so he got 2 extra on me. But at the same time, the food that we've had on these road trips has been getting progressively better. But I will say, though, when you have a place like Binghamton in comparison last week,
right? It's just there's just no comparison.
There really
we were excited about eating the chicken speedies in the Binghamton area, which were so highly recommended, not only by people who knew we were traveling to the region and are from there, but also the Black Bears fans. If there's any of them that we really care about, we got recommended to try chicken speedies, and I can tell you, it was like eating a cold hot dog compared to just the excellent plates of barbecue that we had in North Carolina. And I want to make the point that these weren't necessarily like these fancy schmancy barbecues like there are up here where they're trying to charge you $35 a plate.
No, they were like the most simple places in the best way possible. Literally the first place we went to was like in a strip mall.
I went to 5 places, and the most expensive barbecue, I think it was $21 with the drink and everything, whatever it was, soda or whatever it was. I think was the most expensive, and I think the cheapest was like $19 flat or something like that.
Yeah.
You can't beat it for this type of just meticulously prepared food. Some of the best ribs I ever had in my life. The brisket was unbelievable. Billy did end up getting a bad plate at the place that Frankie McClendon recommended, but what kind of saved it was that I got there a little late, and when my plate came out, everything was great. It was a little bit of mac and cheese with a little kick to it, and there was really nice plate of brisket there, and I believe that place was called...
What, Little Richard's, right?
Little Richard's, that's right, yeah, Little Richard's Barbecue. And then the next day we went to that Camel City.
Camel City.
Was unbelievable. That was really good. Yeah, like there's just no comparison. Like if you go down there, this is for anybody that makes it down there. If you go down there to a Carolina game, and I think it's great, it's probably a nice place to visit in the middle of the winter, if that's the case next season, where you might be able to catch Wake Forest, Wake Forest sports, maybe a basketball game or something. But the barbecue was just second to none that I've had. I mean, I really did enjoy the barbecue I had in 2020 in St. Louis during the NHL All-Star Game, but this was just on a whole other rung of just kind of local flavor and preparedness. The last place we went was actually recommended by the lady who worked the overnight shift at the hotel we were staying at. It was called the Real Q or Real Q.
Yeah, it's Real Q. They do like Lexington style,
chop barbecue
over the pit. I'll have to say that was a pretty interesting spot out of the 3 that I went to. I don't think it was my favorite, but it was still great.
I think it was just the fact that I guess you'd say there's a little more vinegar or whatever in that kind of a barbecue, but you're probably more into the saucy.
Well, no, because I had the sauce at our first place we went to, Honky Tonk, and that was like a vinegar kind of sauce.
That was excellent too.
Was awesome
shout
sauce.
out to Honky Tonk Smokehouse, I believe it was called.
Yeah, Honky Tonk Smokehouse.
That really was a great lunch. Like the ribs, they were so tender. It was literally like cutting through a melting birthday cake with a really sharp knife or something. That's how tender it was. It was just unbelievable, and I can really say that was the highlight of the trip because the hockey just didn't go our way.
Yeah, I'll say that too. And I got the pulled pork at all 3 places. I kind of with the exception of Real Q since it was like chopped pork already, but I kind of went consistent over all across. Each one I pretty much got beans and potato salad with each meal.
Maybe we should post some of the pics.
We should,
because we haven't posted in a while, but we could do that. We also got a chance to go to Sheetz as a unit, as the Hat Trick City podcast for the first time, and I must say it probably lived up to the hype for you because I was so glad to see it out there in Pennsylvania somewhere. Get myself a made to order pizza. It was pepperoni pizza and a Pepsi. These places are just incredible. Pat, what'd you think?
I also agree with you. It did live up to the hype. I also got one of those personal made to order pizzas, the pepperoni. Ended up getting some mott sticks on the side because I felt like those go hand in hand with each other, and I scarfed that thing down within like 5 minutes. It was probably one of the tastiest gas station type meals I've ever had. May or may not have DoorDashed that a few times over the course of being at the hotel because we were close to one. But
like Pat, you pulled your like typical DoorDash thing where you DoorDash so late at night that you're asleep by the time it comes, and I wake up and I come out of the room and there's just like a bunch of weird junk food laying on the floor. I think you got like a Shamrock Shake.
No, that time I got a banana shake with like peanut butter in it. I was kind of upset about that one because I was like, damn, I really fell asleep, and now the shake is just like banana peanut butter goo. It's not even like a shake anymore. But I will say also on the last day, we're heading out. We made a stop at Sheetz. That was the first thing we did before we hit the highway. I walked over. They had a Culver's. Never had Culver's.
Yeah, how was that?
It was pretty delicious. I ended up getting a
frozen custard, or
no, I didn't go on that. I was more hungry for like food. I was like, I'll save the custard for another time if I come back. So I was like, I ended up getting a Butterburger with cheese, some fries. Then I got cheese curds, a big thing of cheese curds. I split them with you, and then I think that was really it for what I got. But I scarfed that down pretty fast. I mean, I was hungry after that. I don't think I had eaten most of that day. I think I had Real Q, and then that was like the last thing I had. But that was like 2 hours before the game had started. So it was like, I hadn't eaten since, almost noon, 1 o'clock. So it was brewing by the time we left at like 10-ish. 10.
And it was a really long ride back that I have to thank Calvin Savoya and Chris Lynch for making most pleasant. It was a pretty pleasant ride back, but it was long, and we really didn't eat much. I mean, we picked up some snacks kind of like then, right after the game, but we kept it moving. There was a few stops we had to make early on, but overall, I think it's one of those places that, I liked it there. I just don't know if I would probably make that road trip again to Carolina. Although, again, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it could have been much worse. And we didn't ride on the bus this time. We rode in a car.
Yep.
But I just think that we had this debate, like it's southern enough there in Winston-Salem, but it's not quite like the deep south. So it really wasn't that bad a drive. I mean, you're in D.C. in 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, we were pretty much back home, pulling into Danbury Arena after what was a pretty rough couple of games down in Carolina, just on the outcome level. We really didn't have what we needed to have, and I think we've got a pretty young team, and I think the veteran team like Carolina is playing at home. The fans were really into it. They were good fans, and I want to report here. I don't know if there were, I haven't heard even one rumor of a problem between the Carolina fans and the Danbury fans. I haven't heard one.
I haven't either. So, I mean, even, being that I was recording both of those games, so I was up from a perch kind of, so I was able to kind of see everything. They were all seeming to get along fine. Not too many fans came up. It was a decent amount. I'd probably say about like 10 to 13-ish fans came from our group. Shout out to those who came. They kind of stood in their own little area, but at the same time, I saw them talk with other fans, and it was, probably the most civil. It was definitely
absolutely.
It was how it should be. It's not, like Binghamton where they'll throw.
I know
this
series isn't over, but I'd like to tip my cap, to everybody on the staff and the fan side down there. Many welcoming people, an excellent arena staff, not a good staff.
Yeah.
An excellent staff. As I've said before on this show, who's been putting on hockey games for a very long time, and you know who's running it right. And I can tell you that, there wasn't a thing that we couldn't get from the Carolina bench staff, the equipment staff, and their people. Not that I know of. Nothing we couldn't get. Everything we needed, coming from bags of ice and big Gatorade cooler full of water to replenish our water bottles on the bench, and tape, and they assigned an equipment manager and a medic to the bench on Friday night. So at the end of the day, I just want to. It was a good experience. This is what it should be like in this league. This is what it could be like in this league. And again, this is what it's like at Danbury Arena for most people.
Yeah.
It's a loud environment. It's half the size. At this point, it's half the size of any real venue in the league, except for the practice rink that Delaware plays in.
Used to play in.
Yeah. They haven't announced anything, have they?
No, they said they're not going to renew the lease.
That's all they've announced. But we've been told that there might be some new announcement, but we haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, at Danbury Arena, it's going to feel like people are right on top of you.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. And I think that on a one-on-one level, I think everybody's pretty much very cordial. Another thing that I think is kind of funny is, too, it's like Binghamton fans have sat in 102 before. They sat last week. Last season, Tyler Pikarski, who played for Binghamton and then played some for Elmira this year before he retired, his brother, literally did it on purpose, and he was taking pics with the fans, and it was a joke. You know what? I really have to tip my cap to Carolina. It was a much more welcoming environment than Binghamton. I told one of the players to help me when I was working on the bench by getting me a soda. Security guard went and got it himself. He said, no, I'll take care of that.
Nice.
So, again, it's the little things, and it's the way people show respect. The Zamboni driver and the gentleman who runs the rink, Coach Paul, the Zamboni driver, Zam Man. At the end of the last game, at the end of the night, These guys came over and they hugged me like a cousin. One to ask me if I needed anything for the ride back. I know we're going on a little bit about this, but I just think it's important to talk about these good experiences when Facebook is being flooded by a bunch of sore losers. Some dusty losers from Broome County that they were lucky they avoided a sweep. But I just think that's something that I think it's the responsibility of this show. We meet a lot of good, I can speak for myself. Pat can have his own. We meet a lot of people in this league.
Yeah.
Other fans comment to us, contact us, and I just think there was absolutely no comparison between what we experienced in Carolina and then just one night in Binghamton. Unbelievable. Just goes to show you that some people, one thing is, I think the people in Carolina know because they've had hockey there for so long. Friend of the show, Doug Smith, we were able to walk around the arena and see Doug Smith's name on a banner that's painted in the hallways of the rink. They've had hockey down there since the late 80s. I think maybe early 80s.
I was going to say, like early to mid 80s.
Yeah, so they know what goes into this. They know that every night people are doing it for the love of the game, for the love of their city. And I think that's, I still want to pound the Thunderbirds Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yes, of course.
But as far as any type of animosity, those are good fans. Those are good people. And I hope, and I think that at the outcome of this weekend's games, I think no matter what, well-run organization's going to win, no matter what. And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. Really, it was really nice to be in Carolina, and even the production staff that I worked with, very welcoming and able to help us. Even like Calvin and Chris, they've met our Carolina's broadcaster Brett before. He's come up for Carolina's road games, so he's familiar with the environment and he knows, and he was able to help us with everything we needed to get our stream going and keep it as good as can be. So shout out to them as well, because obviously they do a lot, to keep that live stream going for the fans. And, what Brett does, he does that. He does a coach's show weekly. So, shout out to those guys as well. But this final weekend, it's going to be probably one of the most intense weekends of this season, if not the most intense weekend. Down 2-0, we got to win out every single game possible. So, Friday, it's going to be interesting. And I know a lot of people are going to be bringing the noise.
And I think, when you do a show like this, again, week in and week out, Pat, I feel like I dedicate a fair amount of time to the show. Pat dedicates even more time to getting it up and running and stuff like that. But, it's just being around these guys the last couple of months, I see them as real competitive guys. And it's time now for them, they're all getting to be young men, and it's time to live their values. These guys are competitive guys. They're hard workers. These guys come to the rink every day. They're at the rink every day. This isn't the prima donna levels of sports where guys are making excuses about load management. And, the travel stinks in this league, and the buses league-wide are old and dirty. But to be honest, I never hear the guys complain too much. I mean, there's jokes, there's joking. But complaining about it, I don't get that too much from these guys. And I think that's what makes me want to do what I can and do what we can to let people know about these games and what's going on with this team. So, we, as a team, I think everybody's poised right now. I'm in touch with people in Animal House, which is in the 200s. at Danbury Arena, and people from Section 102, and just people who come to the games, and everybody's dialed in. You know, everybody had, and I appreciated that vibe down in Carolina, but we can be louder. Yeah. We can be tougher. We could make it hell for these guys on Friday night at Danbury Arena. This is the championship. I told, at the end of last season, I told Pat, yourself, and Josh Starr, and Andreas, I told you guys that you guys were in the playoffs too. You guys were just as much in the playoffs as every member of the team, and the fans are in the playoffs now, and the fans are in the championship now. And this is our opportunity. This is it right here for Danbury. And I could tell you that I don't think there's any team in the world I'd give a chance of winning 3 straight games at home in their own building than the Danbury Hat-Tricks. I just think it's that powerful. I think there's a group, there's that 6th skater in the stands that is just absolutely relentless. The Joe Tretches, the Ron Rogels, Alexandra, Lee Rocco. Gigante, who's just been absolutely fantastic. And I want to put something else out on the podcast. Gigante might have been the most popular guy in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We're just walking around with his Hat-Tricks jersey. He took about 10 pictures. I saw him kissing a baby. I mean, that guy's a great ambassador. Yeah. And it's, you don't come to this league to get the stale and quiet product that you get in an NHL preseason game or at an AHL game. It's just not what we're here for. We talked to Billy McCreary about that later in the show. But the time is now. The time is now. Everybody that comes to Danbury Arena regularly is in the championship, and we have to pull out all the stops. I bought myself a bullhorn. This young man, I just became familiar with him, Jeff Kozo. This guy is making, some absolutely bonkers equipment. These noise makers and these air horns that he's working on, they're going to really be intimidating, I think, for anybody that comes in. I just don't believe that in an arena like ours that these guys don't hear every sound and everything we're saying, and it doesn't get this. It does. And that's the type of grit, tenacity, and determination the fans need to bring tomorrow night. We need to make it impossible for a visiting team to play at Danbury Arena.
Yeah. I send that exact sentiment to all the fans. Just whatever thing you can do to make a lot of noise. We have people with gongs. We got Gigante with this snare. Joe Trench with literally just yelling his head off. I mean,
he's all natural. He's the nature boy.
Literally. So, and you got people now.
He literally is the nature boy.
People with air horns now and these bull horns, like we mentioned before. It's going to be a loud environment. So please come down and add to that loud environment. Make it one of the best scenarios and atmospheres we have seen in this building this year. I'm excited for it. It's going to be probably the biggest weekend of the year, literally of the year in this city.
This is the biggest weekend for hockey in Danbury since the last Mustache Classic.
Yeah, there you go.
But I really think that just being around these guys and just getting the chance to work on the bench a little bit has been it's been something really great for me because I don't know if I'm a control freak, but I'm probably something like it. I just love having an impact on things that I'm passionate about. So to work with these, I think that we have an organization that's still growing. I think we have an organization where there's a lot of passionate people, and this is really the weekend to pull out all the stops. If you care about this team, get down there. If you have a buddy that likes to go sometimes, buy him a ticket. If you if you're the type of person who's made that one game this season, but just has been following the show, following the team on YouTube, hasn't been able to make it back, get to the game Friday night. Get down there. We need everybody. One thing I could tell you is, and I'm dead serious about this, we could have just as many people in our arena for this for this set of games coming up than Carolina had in theirs. And it's supposedly a bigger building. I mean, it might be. They can't fill it. They didn't fill it. They didn't fill it for 2 games in the championship. Big holes in the crowd. Big holes in the seating. You know, this is the time right now for Danbury. If you like hockey, if your friends like hockey, get them to the game. We need people down there.
Yeah, and with that being said, stay tuned for an amazing interview we had with Billy McCreary.
Hey, this is Xavier Abdello, number 6 for the Danbury Hat-Tricks and Vermilion County Bobcats Hall of Famer. And you're listening to Hat-Trick City on WXCI. Go Rabbits, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hat-Trick City. I'm your host, DJ Patty Cake, as always, joined by DJ Uncle Matt here in the studio. Today we got the fantabulous head coach, Billy McCreary, in the studio with us. Billy, how we doing?
I am fantabulous, thank you.
There we go.
Fantabulous is the way to be. Okay.
Well, you know, last weekend, things didn't really go the way most people would think it would have went. Tell us kind of what you saw in those 2 games. You know.
Yeah, well, first of all, let everybody know it wasn't possible for us to win the Cup down in Carolina, so it didn't really matter what happened there. It just, you know, it's all about tomorrow night here in Danbury. And, you know, we were just talking about with Maddie a little bit and just seemed to really not be able to kind of find that extra gear to let us take over the game. And, you know, we were in games and we were in moments. You know, both games are up 1-0, but we just didn't have that extra spark, you know, to find that second one. And if you can go up 2 on the road, it's a different game. And, you know, we kind of allowed them to hang around and work their magic. And kudos to them. They're a good hockey team. They're well coached, and it's a hard barn to play in. So if you don't take advantage of those opportunities, you know, you're going to let them hang around. You're going to let them do what they do. So, you know, it's kind of, in my short opinion, that's kind of what happened to us last weekend.
I think that for one of the first times in a while, we kind of saw the refs let the guys play a little bit. Did you think that was the case?
Yeah, I did. I was pleasantly surprised, you know, with the officiating. It's been a bit all over the place this year, and you know, even in the start of the playoffs, they weren't really letting us play. And you know, for us to be able to go out and battle for our ice and you know, drive the net and let the boys play between the whistles, you know, there wasn't really much going on after the whistles. It was clean, hard playoff hockey, and I thought they did a great job of letting the flow of the game be exactly that.
You had basically a full week of practice here since those games, and the team did get back just about 7:30 Sunday morning, which is when Pat and myself, Chris Lynch and Calvin pulled in. What's this week been like with this group of guys that, you know, there's a competitive group in there, so I kind of think the listeners are interested in how they reacted to last week.
Oh, I mean, it's been fantastic. At the end of the day, there's 2 teams left, you know, with a week to go in this season, and we're one of those teams. And I think if you asked anybody in that locker room, you know, myself included, if you had an opportunity to win the championship, but you had to win a game in Danbury on Friday night against whoever, a game in Danbury on Saturday night against whoever, and then you had to win one more on Sunday to win it all, I mean, everybody in that locker room has taken that opportunity.
And I think that same sentiment occurred to me today. It was like, listen, we may be down 2-0, but the truth is we're coming home. We've only lost 4 games at home all season, I think.
Yeah, 2 in regulation, 2 in overtime, I believe.
It's a tough place to play. And it was really impossible. I mean, the Binghamton fans I never saw such an offended group of people by noise. Literally just sounds and horns blasting. And I think that the Carolina fans are going to have to expect the same thing, and the players will too. But can you talk just a little bit about, like you said, it's the only 2 teams left, and just from a league perspective, kind of a more broader view of stuff that we're talking about. Like, I mean, the atmosphere was great down there, you know, whether you're on that side or not. I mean, we're going to have a great atmosphere Friday night. But what did you think about, like, what can you say about the atmosphere in this league at this point?
You know, first of all, to have Danbury and Carolina as the last two teams, I think it's tremendous. The league has grown so much, and you've got organizations and buildings like Binghamton and Columbus and Mississippi and Elmira and all these huge venues and big markets, whether currently or historically, and if you look at the two teams that are still going at it right now, in my opinion, they're small market teams. Carolina's got, I think, 3,500 there. It's a good sized building, but it's not 5, it's not 6, 7, 8, 9, and Danbury, it's 2,500, standing room only. So, in my opinion, it's two small market teams that are really doing a great job of putting a competitive product on the ice, and that's tough to do when you've got buildings that you're competing against and organizations that you're competing against that have the buildings and the markets that they do. So, I think it's great that those smaller market teams are having success, and I think it's great that the league is growing into bigger buildings and bigger markets, and it's really exciting to be a part of it right now.
There was a point when we were in the locker room together last weekend, and you seemed satisfied at times. I mean, there was times where our team was really competing in there. What do you think it's going to kind of take? Is it the arena that might be the missing equation here? Is it everybody that needs to come out and be loud, or what do you think it might take to kind of just be the aggressor next time completely?
I mean, I don't think it's going to take anything. I think it's just another chapter in our story. We've put together such a remarkable season here, and you look at all the runs that we've gone on, and how many times have we won 3 games in a row this year? Yeah. I say to the guys all the time, I'm not a math guy, but I would have to say it's probably around 15 times.
I would be surprised if you didn't look that up. I'd be surprised if you didn't look that up. That sounds like a text to Chris Lynch.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully he'll come through here. But I just think we got to break it down here, and we're excited to be where we are. And, again, we talked about it before. The last two teams here at the table, and we're coming back into our house on Friday night where we're extremely comfortable. And, again, you talk about the moments that we've had this year. We were down, 3 goals or 4 goals in Elmira on the road with like 5 minutes to go. And, you come back and you win the game. We've had so many remarkable moments. And to me, we're down 0-2, but I don't believe we're down 0-2. I believe we have an opportunity to come here and win one game on Friday night, win one game on Saturday night. And how many times have we done that in the last 4 years since we've been here, especially this year. So if we can just take care of those 2 nights, you give yourself an opportunity on Sunday. The building's going to be rocking. The boys are going to be fired up. And this is our team. This is our family. This is our year.
I really wanted to, because we've talked about kind of stuff like this on the side, but I really wanted to ask you on the show about this. It just seems like after the last round in the playoffs against Binghamton, it just seems like there was a lot of chatter about these air horns and cowbells and stuff like that. And I was really glad that when we went to Carolina, their fans had plenty of that stuff. I thought it was great. What do you think about all this? I mean, listen, one guy made a point online, which there's probably indisputable, which is that none of these types of noise instruments, gadgets would be allowed in an NHL arena. But what do you think about that element of it here at this level?
I mean, listen, I love the NHL game, and I'm certainly not trying to discredit that by any means. But a lot of markets, you go to an NHL game, it's like having a corporate business meeting. You're not watching a hockey game. It's a completely different feel. It's a bunch of suits in the stands, and you come to a minor league hockey game, and that's not the feel. That's not the culture. That's not the environment. And it's rowdy. It's ruckus. It's kind of in your face because it's smaller buildings, and the fans are right on top of the players. The players are right on top of the fans, and I mean, we're certainly not strangers here in Danbury to the the players that turn their attention to the fans, and whether it's verbally or physically, it's a tough environment, and in my opinion, that's the difference between minor league hockey and the NHL and the American League.
Do you want to just talk a little bit about what you guys have done in practice this week and like on a day-to-day basis, or what's been going on there?
Yeah, nothing different really. We just kind of been focusing on us and, making a few minor adjustments here that we think are going to give us some success. But, just business as usual. Another week. It was another Monday. It was another Tuesday, another Wednesday. Here we are on another Thursday, and tomorrow's game day. So, we've been doing this a long time, and these guys are pros, and, they're certainly excited to get after it tomorrow.
And, I want to ask, there was, I believe, 2 times in the past 2 games where we were on a 5-on-3 and didn't get to capitalize. Was there anything like that we worked on in practice this week?
Yeah, I mean, we've been slowly working on it all year, and I think if you look at our power play, all season long, it's slowly gotten better. And you're exactly right. We didn't pot one in those 2 5-on-3s. They were, the first one is a bit of an abbreviated 5-on-3. The second one, we had a real great look, grade A chance that just didn't fall. And, that kind of gets back to what I was saying earlier, where things just didn't seem to go our way. Shafts got in the way, goalie's knobs got in the way, feet got in the way, and it just didn't happen for us. And, so we just kind of kept going here this week at practice and keep the energy up, keep the family, intact, and see what happens here Friday night.
They got a few empty netters there and stuff, but sometimes I feel like hockey can be a lot about who's getting more shots. It's not always the case. How did you feel about that? Like, were there times where we just weren't able to get inside to get the shots, or were we missing from the perimeter?
No, you talk about a couple of the tweaks that we've made, and things that we focused on, and face-offs are certainly one of them. I thought we lost that battle a lot last weekend down in Carolina, and that has to be a focus for us here. At home, we are a team that likes to compete. We like to be physical, and that starts from the drop of the puck, and we have to be ready for that. All 5 guys, 6 guys, if it takes it. And I think that's something that we weren't really sharp on last week, and we've kind of focused on it here this week, and expect a little bit better of a performance there.
The last thing I want to ask you is, it would just occur to me, and you might say something different, but I think we were a touch slow at times, and we're a big hit. We're a big hit away from making an impact on the game. Is that stuff you addressed this week?
Yeah, for sure, and we'll make a couple lineup changes that will make sure or ensure that we're going to have some guys in there that give us that spark, that are able to get on the forecheck and, maybe give us that big hit when we need it and get the crowd going. It's playoff hockey, so we certainly have to be disciplined, but, they came hard down in their building, and, Ojic took a pretty good hit there and got his feet taken out and, out for the rest of the game, and we got to battle through it. So, no suspensions given out, no penalties on the play, and, it's playoff hockey, so we're going to make sure that same atmosphere is what Carolina is going to see on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely, and it'll definitely be interesting for me to see if Carolina plays the same way on the road as they did at home. So, Billy, really looking forward to the game tomorrow night. Me and Pat are really as invested as anybody, and we definitely lapped some miles this last week to be around the team. So, we're all in and looking forward to being at the rink. Like I told you last week, I'm ready to play. So,
you guys have been great. Pleasure to have, and we talk about family here all the time, and it's not just the guys in the room. It's the extension of our family, and that's certainly into you guys, into the front office, and that's what we are here. And again, that's kind of the reason I love these small market teams. You don't really get that feel in those larger market teams, but that's why we are where we are, and we are who we are. So appreciate you guys.
Of course. And then just one last thing. What do you want to tell the fans going into this weekend?
Yeah, it's important.
Let's fill the fucking building.
There we go.
Hey, this is Tyler Noseworthy, 2013 Commissioner Cup champion and current head coach of the Danbury Junior Hat-Tricks of the NA3HL, and you're listening to Hat-Trick City on WXCI.
Ladies and gentlemen, just like that will conclude the 26th edition of Hat-Trick City. I'm your host, DJ Patty Cake, and just like Billy said, please come on down, pack the barn. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a very loud night. It's going to be an amazing weekend. Really hyped for this team, and I know that we'll be able to get things done, and it's going to be quite the interesting weekend as long as everything goes our way, which I believe it will. And with that being said, thank you again for listening, and we hope to see you at the rink this weekend, specifically tomorrow night at the Danbury Ice Arena. Thank you so much, and this has been Hat Trick City, episode 26.